Who do you think is the best manager of the last 10 years? Make sure the obvious pick you want to say is old Frankie Kramer. For the last 10 years is Dominico Tedesco, the best Schalke manager over the last 10 years. That's a good question. It's not Wagner. It's not Gross. There's a lot of managers. Schalke's had a lot of managers. Trying to think of all the managers they've had in the last 10 years since 2015. That's a lot of managers. I mean, if you look at it from a 10,000 foot view, they finished second. They lost to Man City in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, so had to have been good, right? But I was thinking, how many managers did they have in this 10-year span? Well, there's a whole lot. There's a whole lot. You probably can't see the screen, but a lot of managers. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. 2015. You can even look at Roberto Di Matteo. He was in 2015. Got let go in May 20. This time in 2015. So Roberto Di Matteo came in after winning the Champions League with Chelsea. Didn't think he was going to win the Champions League with Schalke, but the hope was that he would play a lot better than he'd get the team to play a lot better than they did. He didn't last very long. After him came in Andre Breitenreiter. A lot of people had hopes for him. He was manager for a year, averaged 1.59 points per game. Amazing Vincent. Good to see you, my friend. Andre Breitenreiter, a guy who a lot of Schalke fans had hoped got more of an opportunity to stay, but he didn't. This is kind of where around the time that management really started acting really erratic. And I'm not going to say that it wasn't like this before, because if you could see the list, Schalke seems to be going through managers every year, right? The only manager who lasted more than a year, Mirko Slomka, lasted almost 3 years. One of my favorite managers there, and Ralf Rangnick before him, and Jupp Heynckes. But for the most part, Felix Magath lasted almost 2 years, but for the most part, didn't last very long. Jens Keller also lasted almost 2 years. But Breitenreiter didn't get a whole year. He only got exactly a year, and then he was let go. They brought in Marcus Weinziel. Remember him? Weinziel, he was not that great. Really struggled. The team dropped in the standings. We used to be a perennial top 4 team, if not a top 2, top 3 team. This is like where the start of the decline over the last 10 years. So Weinziel came in, didn't do great. Tedesco came in right after him. Tedesco had a long run, right? He had almost 2 years or 3 years. 2 years, excuse me. Finished second. The 1 year, as I said, the following year there was the Champions League, all those extra games. They struggled. Didn't make the top 10. I don't think they made the top 10. I think they dropped really bad. But how good was it, right? They finished second, but like every game was 1-0, right? It struggled. It wasn't like Schalke. We talked about it so much in the podcast back then. We're like, yeah, we're winning, but how much of it is it luck? It's not sustainable to win this in the show from the first year to second year. It just wasn't sustainable the way they were playing. But nonetheless, he did get results compared to others, right? Hoop Stevens, he was in there for about 100 days or so after him in a interim role. He took over from March to the end of the year. In came David Wagner. That was a train wreck right there. Surprised he lasted over a year. We had a train wreck of a season, got us relegated, or nearly relegated. Did he get relegated? I can't remember. It happened all so fast at the time. No, I didn't get quite relegated then. Almost got us relegated. We should have fired him. They didn't fire him, and he stayed on. Anyway, they finally got rid of him like 5 games into the season. Manuel Baum came in. He didn't do much better. Tedesco's the Max Allegri of Schalke. Yeah, without the wins. Maybe that first year, the second year, the first year when he finished the second, but yeah. That's a mighty big compliment to give him called Max Allegri. But very similar, stout defensively. I can see that. Manuel Baum came in, only got 70, 80 days there. Hoop Stevens had to take over yet again. Then they had a failed experiment of Christian Gross, as I mentioned. What a horrible show there. Led to our relegation, essentially, because Schalke was in dead last place. They brought in Dimitris Gramotzis to try to salvage something. Could not. They retained him for the next season in Zweite Liga. He was in there for a good bit until I said like March 2022 when they finally made the move. Like oh, we need to get promoted. He's not getting. Schalke were like 8th, 9th, 10th at that time, and we're like, oh man, we're not going to get promoted. What are we doing here? So they fired him, brought in Mike Buskins. It's kind of Mike Buskins and Matthias Kreutzer kind of tag team it. And they finished up the season on a great run, got promoted as champions. And so Buskins remained there until they brought in old Frankie Kramer. Frankie Kramer came in at the start of the 2022 season. And Yeah, man, he didn't last very long. 110 days or so. Matthias Kreuzer took over for him once again for about a week. And then Thomas Reis took over October 27, 2022 and had almost a year run with Schalke. We're getting relegated again. But he made a good effort, valiant effort. The team nearly survived that year. Almost stayed up in the Bundesliga, but they just missed out too little too late. But they kept him on. They thought, as well as he did with Bochum previously and what he did with Schalke at the end of the Bundesliga season, that maybe going to the second division, really good chance to get promoted once again. Something happened in that second season. Players didn't play up to snuff, right? Thomas Reis couldn't get the results, and eventually he ultimately would get canned on September 27, 2023. Matthias Kreuzer came in again to be temporary caretaker, if you will. And then 11 days later, Karel Gerards came in, finished the season off strong, avoided relegation. Would have been double relegation, would have been terrible for Schalke at that point, obviously, anytime. He saved off the season, looked okay. High hopes for him coming to this season, and started out very well. 5-1 victory against Braunschweig. Everything looks good, and then everything just fell apart after that. A lot of instant clashes. This is when Ben Manga came in. Immediate clashes between Gerards and Manga. Nothing seemed to work right at all. Gerards was eventually let go in September. Jakob Fimpel came in for 2 games, kind of rallied the troops. And then Kees van Vanderen's been in there since since October 6th until he'll be here to the end of the season. So a lot of managers in this time. Schalke's recent years were like a mix of banter era, except Milan didn't get relegated. Yeah. A very banter era for Schalke there. But look at these last 10 years. The obvious pick you want to say is Dominico Tedesco, right? Who went on to become the Belgium manager, national team manager, also RB Leipzig manager. So you think it's Tedesco, but I don't know. I would say place-wise, where they finished in the table and what they did in Champions League, yes, they were good in that regard, but it was so hard to watch. So difficult to watch Schalke at that time. It was like watching Max Allegri, but on steroids. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, right? Maybe Max Allegri on drugs. I'm going to go with Andre Breitenreiter. I thought at least Schalke looked entertaining when they played under him, right? I also wanted to see him do one more year. Brought in Marcus Weinziel, who they said was going to be this offensive, genius, and he didn't do anything. He crapped the bed, really. So that was really he was the last decent manager in the last 10 years. Tedesco is, a little outlier there, but for the most part, yeah, it's been a struggle. So I'm curious what people's thoughts are, Schalke supporters. Who do you think is the best manager of the last 10 years? Make sure you leave a comment and let us know.